Hi, everyone. So on August 28th, the state of California moved to a new tier-based system for determining COVID risk in each county. Since our original plan, our COVID plan, was mapped to the monitoring list, which no longer exists, the COVID task force needed to update the plan. So we took the opportunity to also reflect on what we've learned so far and make some other changes to the reopening structure. So in this video, I will go through the plan as it stands now. Also, the COVID task force will reevaluate our plan, its tiers, its restrictions, every 4 to 6 weeks so we can adjust and fine tune it as warranted by the data and the experience of our school and our community. As you know, we are committed to follow the guidelines that exist for schools from the appropriate authorities, including the CDC and the California and Orange County Departments of Public Health. There are 3 guiding principles to reduce transmission of COVID-19 for schools. The first is called batching or cohorting, which is keeping small groups constant. The second is monitoring. So that's identifying quickly those who are at elevated risk or who may have already contracted COVID-19. And then the third is reducing the time and exposure. So keeping the likelihood of transmission as low as it can be within reason following the CDC guidelines. So for the entire 2020-21 school year, all students will be assigned a pod. The pods are decided by the staff at the beginning of each semester and will be based on information that we receive from the parents about your family's needs. The pods will consist of approximately 8 to 12 students and will have 1 dedicated staff member. Each pod will be autonomous and they will have their own school meeting and civics board. They can also decide to put stricter parameters in place in order to create a space that's most comfortable for the members of that pod. So are kids only going to see the pod members in their own pod for the entire year? Not necessarily. The pods are the basic structure, but how the school operates will be divided into 4 phases. These phases are color-coded: red, orange, yellow, and green. And as you might expect, red is the phase that indicates how we will operate when our local risk for COVID is high, and green is when we are at the lowest risk. So I'm going to tell you what information will determine which phase we are in and how the school will operate at each of the 4 phases. There are some updates here. This is new. For one, we are introducing a phasing in of in-person school. So at each colored phase, the school meeting can decide to meet in person for up to a certain number of days per week. So this plan will provide the parameters which the school meeting can then use to make specific changes to operations. So first is the red phase. We are in red phase when Orange County has been deemed to have widespread COVID risk by the state of California. They also call it tier 1 or purple, and it's kind of confusing that now the state of California has colored tiers and they don't actually match our colored tiers. So I'm going to use the words rather than the colors from the state of California. This is defined by the state of California as having more than 7 new daily cases per 100,000. This is a 7-day average with a 7-day lag. Or having testing positivity of more than 8%, again, with a 7-day average and a 7-day lag. So all of our phases that I'm going to go through are now going to be mapped to the new tiers from the state of California. If you want to learn more about the tiers and how each county is placed and when they're placed on which tier, you could go to the website covid19.ca.gov/safer-economy. This is where all the information about the tiers is, and you can click on different links to find out more about determining what tier we're on. So what happens when we are in the red phase? Our school does not meet at all. We do not have any in-person. That hasn't changed. We are going to be online only for as long as we are in red. We will be moving to phase orange once Orange County has been deemed to be on the substantial tier for COVID risk by the state of California. Substantial COVID risk is currently defined by the state of California as having 4 to 7 daily new cases per 100,000 and testing positivity of 5 to 8%. While we are in the orange phase, students can meet in person for up to 2 days per week. So this is new. The plan specifies up to for a reason. We're giving the school meeting the authority to start lower and move higher as they are able to logistically. At this phase, only one pod may be on campus at any one time. I want to note also that we no longer have to worry about age restrictions. So at Orange, we don't have to try to get a waiver from the Department of Health. Due to our pod structure, we have the ability to have all of our students go back in person at phase Orange, regardless of their age. We will move to phase yellow once Orange County has been deemed to be on the moderate COVID risk for the state of California, or tier 3. Moderate COVID risk is currently defined by the state of California as having 1 to 3.9 daily new cases per 100,000 and testing positivity of 2 to 4.9%. While we are in phase yellow, students may meet in person for up to 4 days per week. Again, giving the school meeting the ability to make its own decision on how many days it actually is, given their logistical and operational capacities, and of course, how safe they feel in meeting a certain number of days per week. But they can go up to 4. Also, at this phase, intermixing between pods is permitted if it's outside. And at this phase, 2 pods may be on campus at any one time. Finally, we'll move to the green phase once Orange County has been deemed to have minimal COVID risk by the state of California. Minimal COVID risk is currently defined by the state of California as having less than 1 daily new case per 100,000 and a testing positivity of less than 2%. While in the green phase, students may be at school for up to 5 days per week, and all pods can be on the campus at once. Pods can also intermix inside and outside. So another big part of our response plan is the health and safety requirements for any in-person school time. Now, in the plan document, this section takes up nearly 8 pages, so I'm not going to go into all of the ins and outs here. I want to share the broad strokes, and then you can drill down to the details that you are interested in. Also, please know that a large portion of these requirements are set by state law. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, pods can decide to adjust their own rules to be more protective, but they cannot make them less protective. So one is social distancing. School meetings and civics board will be outside. No prolonged contact between school meeting members, such as wrestling, though brief contact is okay, such as pushing a friend on the swing. And sharing or selling food is not permitted in yellow or orange phases, and in green, it might be permitted with restriction. Face coverings. These, again, are regulations from the state of California. Face coverings must cover the nose and the mouth. In the following situations, students who are in 3rd grade and up are required to wear, and 2nd grade and down are recommended to wear them, and that would be when they're inside, and if they're outside, less than 6 feet from another person. They can remove the face covering when they're eating, but they should remain seated. There definitely are kiddos who really like to eat and wander around, and we'll try to provide some space for them, particularly outside, where maybe they can leave their food on a picnic table, snack on it, wander around, and as long as they have some space between them and other kids, that should be fine. 3rd is personal hygiene. So first, there's going to be a hygiene training for all students and staff that's provided by our medical agent, and it'll be completed at the very beginning of in-person school. There will be hand washing stations in every section of the school campus so that kids can wash their hands regularly. Next, we have school property. So school items that are shared will be disinfected between use. Personal property. Students are going to keep their items in their cubby when they're not in active use, and we are going to discourage sharing, unfortunately, just to keep those germs at bay. So next is ventilation. All doors and windows should be propped open at all times when the weather permits. If it's not reasonable to keep the doors and windows open, they can be closed with the active use of air filtration system. And we have those parameters in our plan. The next thing is facility cleaning. Frequently used spaces will be cleaned at the beginning, middle, and end of each day. And the disinfectants that we have will be from an EPA list of cleaners that are proven effective against COVID-19, and they'll also be non-toxic. Next is symptom screening. Students and staff will be required to complete a screening every day before attending school. And if you're sick, just stay home. And then finally on here, I want to talk about the parents' responsibility. Parents are responsible for reporting to the school if you have been contacted by a contact tracer, if anyone in your family has been confirmed positive with COVID, or if your child has had any symptoms. We will also have a COVID consent and liability waiver that all parents must sign before students can come back to school. I want to just take a minute right now that I've gone through all these regulations and acknowledge this is not ideal. Our school, just like you guys, does not want to operate with all of these restrictions on things that are normally really healthy for children. We have to discourage sharing and physical contact. We don't like doing that. But I also want to comfort you with the knowledge that our kids are amazing. Kids are generally more flexible and understanding than even adults. And when we are able to be together, doing things like wearing a mask or elbow bumps instead of a high five, it's an easy trade-off. We will endeavor to give plenty of opportunities for kids to take masks off in a safe way, but the kids that I have talked to have told me they would happily wear a mask all day just to be back at school with their friends. And of course, the ultimate goal for us is for our world to be COVID-free. But in order to do that, we have to be really careful right now, and our kids understand that. They are taking this in stride, and they're willing to make adjustments to their way of interacting so that they can interact. So in addition to all of this, we are also offering the option to families to create a hybrid program for this year. So when the school is operating at a full-time in-person status, students can attend for fewer than 5 days per week and engage via the distance program on their off days. Parents who are opting into this program will need to complete a parent workshop on supporting self-directed democratic program at home. I think that covers the basics. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Please reach out if you have any questions that persist after reading through the policy. I want to assure you that our school will continue to support your kids and your family no matter what's going on in the world. I hope one thing that comes through loud and clear is our commitment to getting to in-person school in a safe and responsible way. Thanks.